Hello and welcome to HHK, Holder's House Kitchen, and today I am taking this and making it much better. So first what I did was I peeled off the plastic covering for what is called a Lunchable. I believe that brand is Canadian, I'm not entirely sure, but it is something that Canadian students who are sometimes in high school and, well, younger students will take it for lunches at school or sometimes even daycare, depending on where you're going. And so what I'm doing, I just kind of feel my ingredients, get to know them a bit. That kind of sounds a bit weird, but whatever. Let's get going. So first, what I'm doing is I'm heating up my pan with butter in it, just to let that melt, so I can get a nice, crispy, kind of toasted bun. I actually didn't end up using enough butter for toasting the bun, so I had to put more in eventually. And then I also kind of didn't want to put too much more in because so I eventually had to also butter the buns themselves. So now what I'm doing is I'm taking a knife that has a small serrated blade, and I get the tomato, put it back on my board. I'm using the claw method to prevent myself from cutting myself, and I'm just cutting them into slices like you would for a regular burger. I'm moving the pieces that I don't need off to the side, and then I eat them straight after I finish cutting my tomato. And again, I'm cutting the tomato in slices, and the tomato I'm using is a cherry tomato because of the size. I kind of gave up on that tomato of cutting it in half because it would be way too thin. So now I'm putting that off to the side so I can cut my other ingredients for the burger, which I'm using a shallot, just kind of as like a bit of garlicky flavor, as well as to use it as what is like an onion, like slices of onion, just to add to the burger, just to make it taste better, and for decoration purposes. And it also gives the burger kind of a bit of a crunch. So what I just did is slice it into 4, because I'm only going to need 4 due to how small they are. Now that my butter is all melted, I am putting my patties in, even though they are very small, about bite size pretty much, and that's okay. Size doesn't matter as long as you have good quality food. At least in my humble opinion. So while I'm letting those kind of fry up a bit, I'm adding more butter, like I said, that I wanted to, just so I can get nice, crisp, toasted burger bun. Kind of stirring them around just to get all that butter on underneath the patties so they can brown up ever so slightly. So now I'm adding my burger bun, kind of moving it around just so I can get all that butter, or margarine is what I'm using, which is a vegan substitute for butter. Just kind of getting the butter all over the surface of where I'm toasting on the buns, just so I can get a nice toasted and brown bun. The reason why I'm taking so long on this, putting this one on, is because I had to butter it because there wasn't enough margarine or butter on the pan to get it in and nice and toasted, which I ended up taking or doing for the others, I think. So at this point you're seeing a time lapse of me kind of just cooking it and toasting my buns, and in a few seconds you'll probably be seeing me flip my patties and then taking off my bun. As right here I'm flipping my patties, you can see that it's got a nice brown, somewhat kind of crusted, and that's okay if it is, because that will give the patty some texture. And you can see that it has a nice brown color. Even though it's not quite brown in the middle, that is okay. As you can see, my bun is perfectly well browned. The edges were a bit burnt, I will admit, but that's okay. That's also due to how the bun was cut and shaped. I will admit, using this as a form of lunch isn't the greatest because it's not entirely healthy, and right now I'm making it healthier by adding more ingredients that are good for you. I'm adding cheese onto the patties just to let that cheese melt a bit, so I won't have to put it on and it won't be too cold, and because I like melted cheese. So right now I'm taking my buns, or the bottom parts of my buns, and putting lettuce. Brought my top part of the buns over. Now, this is where I'm taking my burger patties with the slightly melted cheese, and if it's fully melted or slightly melted, that's okay. It doesn't really matter, it's your personal preference. As you can see, I've just laid the burger patties on the lettuce. I'm taking the mustard and ketchup packets that came with the Lunchable, as they're called, because I want to use as much and most of the packet of food as I can to keep it relatively authentic, and because I don't want to waste food products. I didn't use all the mustard, so it was a bit of a waste, but that's okay. I'm not a big fan of mustard anyway, and you can't put the packets back in the fridge, I do believe. Took me a bit to open the ketchup, but now I'm putting the ketchup on my mustard. Now I'm adding my cherry tomatoes. What I should have done was put my, and pickles that I had picked out of the jar previously, right before recording. So what I should have done here was, instead of putting the tomatoes on before the shallots, I should have put the shallots, then the tomatoes, then the pickles, rather than putting the shallots on the burger bun tops, because they just fell off as soon as you can see there, as I was trying to put the top bun on. So then what I do is I take toothpicks, even though they're not quite decorated, just to hold their just to help them hold their shape, and so they don't fall apart on me while I'm preparing other things and serving them. Right now I'm taking the cookies and the peach jam that family have brought over from when they were visiting from somewhere in Canada, I can't remember where. It's peach jam, and I'm just taking a small spoon and scooping out a small bit of it onto the cookie just to give it more flavor rather than have nice, crunchy, crispy sort of oatmeal cookie and only that. And then what I do after that, after putting the jam on one side, one cookie, I sandwich them just to kind of make what's called a jam jam, or I know it to be a jam jam, but they may have other names, I'm not too sure. But overall, this is how they turned out. I'm really happy with it, and they were really good to eat. So delicious, small. Even though it is small, it's packed full of